My guest today is the fabulous Dr. Michael Nuccitelli, a New York State licensed psychologist, a cyber psychologist, and creator of the iPredator concept, a framework to understand and defend against online aggression, something I think we'll all agree we need these days. Since 2009, he's been a tireless educator and volunteer, helping victims of cyberbullying, cyber stalking, and internet defamation. His site, iPredator.org, offers free resources for anyone affected by the dark side of digital life. And today we'll explore how technology impacts intimacy, empathy, and power, and what we can do to stay safe and connected. And just a quick personal one. So I've got a 15-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter, and they're on their phones. They're like everybody else, and I sort of think they know what to do and what not to do. But some of the stories I read in the news of intelligent kids, of intelligent adults, really just scare me. So I'm hoping you're going to put my mind at rest a little bit today. But anyway, thank you so much for joining. It's really kind of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good day to you. Good day to your audience. And hopefully I can provide a little bit of information to be beneficial to those that spend their lives online, which is obviously the majority of us. But thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So psychologist, cyber psychologist. So what was it that led you to develop the concept of iPredator? And can you explain what iPredator is and what it does?
Most certainly. Well, originally in a past life, I was a forensic psychologist. I was a clinical psychologist, but also a forensic psychologist doing assessments in the criminal, family, and in family courts. And from doing that, I spent a lot of time studying what I called the dark side of human consciousness. Anybody can read or download or print out my concept that I wrote in 2006 called dark psychology. Dark psychology is a dark side of human consciousness concept that explores what's going on in our mind, particularly, obviously, from the dark side. So as I was doing assessments, particularly criminal assessments, and also starting to diddle about with online, again, it was very little around 2008, 2009. Obviously, we were all very much at the beginning, but that's when the light bulb went off. And that's when I realized where if I am a criminal, a deviant, a pedophile, where better to go if I want to hide or skew my identity would be the internet and social media. And boom, that's how iPredator came about.
But one thing that I think surprises a lot of people, if and when cyberbullying is uncovered or a cyberstalker is uncovered, it's perhaps not necessarily the person we expect. I guess it's the same, isn't it? You say you walk down the street, right? Can you spot the murderer? Well, no. But right. What are there emotional and psychological patterns that are consistent in people that do engage in cyberbullying or stalking?
When we're talking, you're talking about perpetrator, or are you talking about?
Perpetrator. Yeah.
Well, if I may I just present just a brief overview of what iPredator is, and then we'll move into something like that when we talk about social media profile or iPredator profiling. So iPredator is a dark side of cyberspace and cyber psychology concept. It presents 8 different types of online aggressors. First and foremost, I'll say them very quickly. We have cyberbullies. Now, in my concept, cyberbully applies. It's the only one that applies to child-on-child cyber attacks. So in the iPredator concept, it is children that engage in cyber attacks. From an adult standpoint, there would be cyber harassers, internet trolls, and the most serious of the adult bullying would be cyber stalking. We have cybercrime, cyber terrorism, and then the most deviant of the iPredators are online child predators and online child pornography consumers and distributors. Those 8 typologies make up the iPredator concept. Now, most importantly, getting back to who is the iPredator, whether it's you, whether it's a friend of yours, or somebody that just randomly starts to attack you online, first and foremost, it has to be repetitive in order to meet criteria. So rule of thumb would be any more 3 or more attacks. First and foremost, in order to be an iPredator, 1 is the use of information communication technology to target someone, to harm someone, okay? Number two is a self-awareness of harming someone using information communication technology. Now, with criteria 2, the mitigating factors that are involved in that can be a little bit sketchy. For instance, when you take a child and he or she is cyberbullying another child, there are times where they actually think that they're just joking around. They don't truly understand from a maturational developmental standpoint. They don't understand really the harm that they're causing the target. So 2 is a self-awareness of causing harm using information technology. And then 3 is what I call cyber stealth. And what cyber stealth is a fancy term for online deception, where I go online, I can either completely hide my identity, which I call the veil of invisibility or veil of an anonymity, or I can skew my identity where you see me right now as Dr. Nuccitelli, but in reality, I've used AI, virtual reality, and a whole bunch of other different tools to distort who I really am. So those are the 3 criteria. So if you or an online user is attacking you and he or she meets those 3, they are an iPredator.
And do you find that, I mean, so let me go back a second. So one of the things that I think is true is that in the nature of a sexual attack or sexual assault or sexual abuse, it often tends to be somebody in the family that's committed the crime, a partner or a relative, whatever. Do you find that the victim's often known to the stalker, or do people stalk people at random, or does it tend to be somebody that they know?
Well, it's a great question. Living in the information age, okay, it can come from all walks of life. I mean, obviously, as we know, in a pre-information age world, the vast majority of sexual abuse, sexual molestation occurred from a family member or someone within the family system. Does that happen now with information technology? Yes. But now think about it. Information technology is, well, what is the definition of cyberspace? Cyberspace is defined as an abstract, artificial, digital universe. It is not real. You and I talking right now, it may feel real, but it's not. So this digital universe is all a facade. It is all fake. That is number one. Number two, the information age is a period of history which began sometime, they're saying, in the late 70s. The birthday of the internet is 1983. So putting those all together, you, myself, your audience, all of us are at the beginning of a period of history that's just begun. Okay. And now it's 2025. And what are we being introduced to is artificial intelligence, AI, and virtual reality. That is a whole new, I mean, when I originally wrote and finalized iPredator back in 2010. And back then I was thinking to myself, it'll probably take about 30 to 40 years in order for artificial intelligence and virtual reality to really begin to take effect and to be used to target online victims. Well, here we are, it's 2025, and it is now being used. So that is, first and foremost, the biggest, if I may say, new thing, although it's not new. And, you know, it's understanding, because we're at a beginning of a period of history, this all is going to go on for at least the next 2 centuries until something else comes along. But right now, we are at the very beginning, and we are truly the guinea pigs. A century from now, they are going to look back at us and they're going to laugh, because they're going to look back at us and see all the ridiculous things that we did online. But here we are, about 50 years in, and we are still making incredible mistakes, posting personal information that we shouldn't be posting, and somehow thinking that once we hit delete, it disappears. But you know, as well as the audience know, is once you post something online, it is permanent.
I think maybe there's something in how our society works now and the pattern of increased loneliness we're seeing from lots of people. Because when you read some of the stories that somebody gets contacted by somebody in the country, they start an online relationship, and the person wants to come and see them, but they need $5,000 to come over, then need something else, need $20,000, and before you know it, people that have had good jobs, they've obviously maybe got a college education, whatever, they're suddenly down $100,000, $200,000, and they've lost all the life savings. There was one the other day in the UK. There's a guy that lost 70,000 because he thought he was in a relationship with Jennifer Aniston. He had a picture of her holding a card that sort of said with his name on it, that he thought, well, that can't be fake, can it? And we both know that obviously can be. But then you sort of think, when you look at it from the outside, you think, oh my goodness, how could you be so naive? But I'm not sure whether our society has just almost created this need for something, and almost where somebody's talking to me, somebody's in love with me, somebody likes me, whatever, $500, $1,000, I'll keep sending it. And then before they know it, the money's gone. Do you think a lot of it is how society is now, that we are lonelier, or that we're more desperate? Maybe, is that the right word?
Well, no, it's a fine word. What you're bringing up right now could be an entire show in and of itself. There are two sub-concepts to iPredator, which directly relates to what you're talking about, and really is the psychological backbone of iPredator and also online victimization. First and foremost, we have iPredator victim intuition. So of all those 8 different typologies that I presented, okay, you have to think on a scale of dexterity. There are cyber criminals that are dumb as a stump, and there are some cyber criminals that are incredibly tech savvy and know and engage in what's called black hat hacking. Okay, so when we're talking about what is called IVI, iPredator victim intuition, there are online users, again, on a scale of dexterity, where they're able to look at what you're posting online, whether it be on your blog, whether it be on a website, whether it be in comments that you're making in social media, your social media profiles. They're able to go, and they do, even it takes them weeks or months, but they will slowly create and know if you and or your loved ones would be a good mark, if you would be a good target to go after. iPredator victim intuition. It is a prowess. Now, is that learned? It most certainly is, but there are individuals, and we won't get into personality disorders, antisocial, so forth and so on, but there are people that, I don't like to use the word evil, but there are just bad people. There were bad people in the beginning of human civilization, and now there's bad people now living in the information age. The difference is they can hide, and they can hide behind a computer screen. But most importantly to what you're speaking to is, as I said, is a sub-concept called odor. Offline distress dictates online response. And what that means is whatever's going on in my world, my state of mind, my psychological functioning, that has a direct impact on what I do online. And that is what makes the difference. Now, when it comes to information, there are only 3 ways known to humankind right now. We can compile information, we can share information, and we can disseminate information. Now, if I have a bad day at work, or I get in a blowout fight with my wife, or I'm half cocked, I just drank 3 40-ounce Guinnesses, and I'm somewhat inebriated. When I go online, that has a direct effect on what I share, what I exchange, and what I compile. So if I am clinically depressed, I am going to go online, and it is going to come forward that I am helpless, hopeless. I am somewhat discouraged. Now, if I'm a child and I'm getting bullied at school, I now go online, whether it be Snapchat, text forms, whatever it may be. I communicate that. Now that I'm communicating it, guess what? online child predators who have a profile that says that they're a 16-year-old that is going to the school right next to yours, they now get involved. So the psychological aspects, it's understanding for your audience what's going on in your offline world directly has an effect on what you do online. Mm-hmm. Now, one last thing, and forgive me, I'm not saying that we have to sit here, we go online and do a minute of self-meditation. But it's understanding if you're inebriated, if you're angry, if you're feeling depressed, if you're anxious, when you go online, it's understanding that that can come through. And if that comes through, you increase your risk probability of being targeted.
One of the ones that you said there about the person that has a profile suggesting they're a 16-year-old going to the school next door to yours, that's the one that always breaks my heart in lots of ways. I'm having a 15-year-old son, so it's the one where somebody's online, thinking they're talking to somebody their own age, they get persuaded to share maybe a naked picture or to do something online, and then the person at the other end reveals that they're not another 16-year-old and threatens to send it to everyone in their contact sheet or threatens to do whatever unless they either carry on doing more things or send money, whatever. And very sadly, you do read of children taking their own lives.
I mean, cyberbully side, most certainly.
Yeah. As a parent of a 15-year-old or the parents out there of 12, 13, 14-year-olds that are maybe on their phone or in their room on the computer, what can we do to mitigate that? Is it talking about it? Is it?
Most certainly. Real quickly, there are 3 types of parenting styles. Okay. Mm-hmm. There is the permissive parent, and this has occurred since the beginning of human civilization. There is the permissive parent, and the permissive parent pretty much allows their child to do whatever the heck they want to do. On the other side, we have the authoritarian parent. Mm-hmm. That is the parent that is rigid, is structured, the boundaries, the rules, everything is very rigid. Then we have the middle of the road, which is authoritative, which sets boundaries, but also engages in conversation with their child, allows them somewhat autonomy, but also at the same time sets boundaries. That applies here in the information age. It's good in many circumstances when you allow your child to go on social media. It's great online gaming, but mm-hmm. if that online gaming moves into 12, 13 hours and they're no longer doing their homework, studying for a test, or now missing school, well, that's when we begin to move into internet addiction issues, and that is where a parent needs to take a stand. So basically, the answer to your question is that a parent needs to engage, just like it's always been. Because if a parent does not, they leave their child to what? Cyberspace, and what they learn and what they see on the internet. And, I have volunteered after work and on the weekends, since 2010. So over the last 15 years, I would say I've helped several hundred individuals, both, teens, young adults. I haven't spoke to children per se, but I've spoken to parents. I've spoken to I've spoken to the whole gambit. And here we are at 2025. And what I'm offering your audience, I say every single podcast, and I say it 3 times. Personal information, personal information, personal information. Okay. The more personal information you share about yourself, the more personal information your child shares about themselves, the higher risk of being targeted. So it is incredibly important. And this is where odor comes in, offline distress, text, online response. If your child is discouraged, not doing well in school, maybe getting bullied, and now coming home and going on Snapchat or in the multiplayer online gaming forums, and they're talking about how they're being treated and how they feel, they open themselves not only to being cyberbullied by children in their school, but also now to be surveilled and targeted by online child predators.
And I think a lot of parents don't even realize that if their child, they sort of say, "Oh, he's only playing games." They don't realize that nearly all the games have a chat facility,
Almost
and
certainly.
you're talking, and you don't know who you're talking to. It's talking to somebody that's called, I don't know, Trollmaster 17. You think it's a 17-year-old kid?
Exactly,
It's not.
Joel.
It's yeah.
One of the biggest problems with parents, you and I mean, first and foremost, I mean, again, I'm not going to date you, but when I was a child, I grew up in a pre-information age world. Goodness, I was in my teen years before we even had beepers, you know. And when they first introduced, I think I was in my late teens when they had the cell phones that were size of a shoebox.
Yep, I remember them
So
well.
I grew up in a pre-information age world. So when I was a child, I was bullied. But when I was bullied and it was done, guess what? I could leave the school, leave the ball field, leave whatever, and get to go home to where I could go home to my family, to my neighborhood, to sanctuary. I had an escape. Okay. I didn't enjoy being bullied. I remember who my bullies were, but the difference is in a pre-information world, we could escape. We had sanctuary. Today, in the information age, that does not exist. So not only is a child bullied physically, psychologically at school or in the ball field, but now when they go home, it is literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is constant because there's no escape. And you can sit here and tell, well, turn off your devices. What child is going to turn off their cell phone, turn off their online gaming, turn off their whatever they may be? So we have to understand, particularly as parents, is that your child, not necessarily is internet addicted, but from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed, they are enveloped by technology.
Yeah.
And with time, and it's happening now, it's called VLE, virtual learning environments. Now, many children still go to brick and mortar schools, but that is slowly but surely, which we learned in COVID,
Yeah.
at least here in the United States, is that there was a turn towards more online academics, virtual learning environments. Well, in virtual learning environments, guess what occurs? Cyberbullying. And if I am a good enough online child predator, guess what I can do? I can enter those VLE environments, and I can now target your son and daughter.
It's hard because exactly the point you made there. Where some people, well, just turn your devices off when you get home. But I've read interviews before where children are being cyberbullied at school and they're cyberbullied. They say, well, no, I need to know what's being said about me, otherwise tomorrow I'll get to school and be even worse. So they're sort of trapped in this spiral where they're almost forced to engage with the bullying to know what they're being bullied for tomorrow.
And excellent point. But that is human behavior. That is part of all of us, so you don't have to be a child. Alfred Adler, I did my doctoral degree at Adler University. Okay, it's been several decades. But Alfred Adler, who was a younger colleague of Sigmund Freud, he was from the world of psychodynamics, and God bless him, he was spot on. But what Alfred Adler believed is that we come into this world and we go out of this world looking to be accepted, validated, and part of. We are social creatures. Whether you want to say by divine intervention or whether you want to go Darwinian and say we are social pack animals, we are social. We have an incredible need to be part of. And because we want to be accepted and we want to be part of, we want to be validated. Now, some of us want to be the head wildebeest, but other of us are just happy that we're in the pack. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, with children, from a developmental psychology standpoint, when children reach prepubescence, again, females go through it a little bit earlier than boys, prepubescent and puberty, developmentally, during that period of time, when the testosterone, the estrogen, and all of that start to change, all of a sudden, the parents and or the primary caregivers are no longer cool anymore. And what the child begins to do is to begin to back away. And who becomes the primary source of information and primary source to feel good about themselves? Their peers. And here we are in the information age. And when you have a 13, 14, 15-year-old who's now, starting to explore their own sexuality or their own feelings of what it means, I'm an individual. Now, today in the information age, they look to Snapchat. They look to online gaming formats. They just sit and Google or scroll and learn an incredible amount of, I will say, both misinformation and disinformation.
And for parents like me, so I totally align with your timing. So when I was at school, I was trying to say to my children, so when I was at school, we had to write an essay on Egypt. I went to the school library. If there was one book on Egypt in there, if I didn't get it out first, that was it. I had to try and figure something else out. But couldn't you just Google it? No, there wasn't any Google. But what about the internet? No, there wasn't the internet. It's literally, in my first job, there were no computers. My first job, there's a room where we had 40, they were all female, 40 typists and typing pool. And you write something on carbon paper, hand it over to them, and 3 days later, you get it back. And you think, well, trying to explain that to my children now. I showed them a rotary phone the other day. So can you show me how you make a call on this rotary phone? No. But it'll be the same. It'll be the same for their children. Their children will be like, well, how on earth do you not live without your live-in AI home bot?
Exactly. And I, we had libraries and Dewey Decimal System.
Absolutely, yeah.
I haven't. But the point is, and again, you were spot on, hitting the nail right on the head. Is for today, children, they just pick up their mobile device, and now, but see. The big thing that we're moving into is artificial intelligence. The great concern is now kids can use AI to write their homework, to write their papers, to apply. I mean, and this is just 2025. Give it 3 to 5 years. And what I tell folks, and I'm not trying to frighten online users or parents, but I am letting all of us know, and it's not just me, is watch what's going to happen. In 10 years, by the grace of God, you and I are still walking the face of the earth. In 10 to 15 years, the entire human condition is going to be very different than it is right now.
You mentioned there about your 15 years of being incredibly generous and sharing your time to listen to calls. Would you be willing to share some stories, some recent volunteer calls, just to help listeners understand what the reality is that online victimization?
Yes, and I give to, again, so as I said, I've been volunteering for, 15 years. I provide free, confidential, one phone call, whether it's 10 minutes or 10 hours. I mean, it's never been 10 hours. I think the longest was 3 hours. It's free. I don't collect any data. I don't collect your email address because, to me, anonymity by far is the most important. So over the last 5 to 7 years, and again, I've done a lot, there is an increase in what's called catfishing and then also internet addiction. Now, with internet addiction is the use of information communication technology, whatever that communication technology is. It could be e-commerce, it could be online gaming, it could be social media. One individual that I had assisted didn't want to admit it until after a couple hours that he was internet addicted. It's called Infobesity. That's not my term. It's also called, not really doom scrolling, but there are individuals that they get online, just like right here today. They go on Google and then they start to Google something. Let's say I used to have a Belgian Tervuren. So I start to Google Belgian Tervuren. I then go into Belgian Tervuren puppies. I then go. So what happens is with Infobesity, I start off Googling Belgian Tervuren. 4 hours later, I'm now researching historic castles of Europe.
Yes.
And the thing, what research is starting to show is that time moves in like lightning speed. So when we become enveloped by information technology, whatever it may be, I mean, a lot of it speaks to, research and attention, but for some reason, we get lost. And I believe we're getting lost. Remember, online distress dictates online response, but we're getting lost because we are escaping from our reality. Now, It doesn't matter if you're well-adjusted, psychologically happy. No matter what your state of psychology is, if you're not, and I've done this myself, and
I
I'm
have.
the creator of iPredator. I've written and talked a lot about internet addiction. I've done it. So it's understanding that our mind, our brain, okay, our 1.3 trillion neuronal, internet connections in there is somehow, and please, I don't want this to sound crazy, is somehow connecting with the trillions of digital connections, electronic. I've said this for years, and again, I'll say it now. And please understand to your audience, I don't mean this literally. It's in a metaphorical sense. For now, we'll see a sense, but I really believe cyberspace is an extension of human consciousness. What I believe somehow, and hopefully I live long enough that I can explain it, but for some reason, when we go online, if we're not careful, we'll become totally enveloped.
Yeah.
Now, you take a child who doesn't have the adult brain capacity yet, who's, brain count. Now it can really get into those synapses and, and all that, and really cause havoc if the child, the parents, and whatever information they're looking at. This is what's happening.
Mm-hmm. A couple of things there. So as you were saying about the, what was it? Infobesity.
Infobesity, yes.
Yeah, so I just finished. I did a master's in behavior change. I was doing lots of research online. I remember one Sunday, so I came into the home office and sort of working on it. 9 a.m, and I sort of 2 o'clock. My wife sort of shouted, "Have you haven't had lunch yet? How are you getting on?" And I started researching one thing. And I was looking at castles in Europe. 5 hours later, I had no idea how I got there, and it just went away with me. Another one is I heard an interview with UK listeners might not know him, but Terry Crews, who's an actor and is host of America's Got Talent, and he went through a very serious porn addiction. And he said he could be online for 12 hours a day.
Yes.
And he said the thing was there was always something new. It wasn't like even if you sit in a library, you can eventually read all the books. He said, by the time I'd consume, for every minute of me consuming porn, another 5 hours worth of porn had been added. There was always something new to look at. There was always something more. And that's, intelligent guy. And I'm relatively intelligent. But you do find yourself that somehow time works differently. And there's
a time distortion. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just enough newness coming through. Well, gosh.
Right. The novelty.
I better click on that. I better click on that.
Exactly. So with this particular gentleman that I had helped, okay, when we got Infobesity and spending so much time, he unfortunately spent so much time. By the grace of God, he didn't get fired, but he got written up at work because he was late. He also didn't fulfill his task assignment. So I'm giving very general, very basic examples because I never like to disclose. Again, a past, online user I helped may watch this episode and like, oh my God, Dr. Nuccitelli is talking about me. So
you mentioned catfishing. You just break that down for us a little bit?
Okay, catfishing is, oh my goodness. Well, you had mentioned it before, where somebody got taken, swindled
Jennifer Aniston,
out of $70,000. Exactly. Over the past 6 years, and I have purposely done this. I think 6 or 7 times, again, I don't take notes, where I have literally in social media, knowing that I could be catfished. I'm heterosexual. So for me, I, start following, connecting with a female online user. And this is very important when it comes to catfishing. 90% of better, if you're being catfished and you're online, whatever the social media platform, wherever you are, if they establish a relationship and you start to say, for me being heterosexual, boy, she's a pretty lady here. Now, all of a sudden, in our discussions about politics and psychology, and in my mind, my online fantasy is, God, I wonder what she looks like offline. What does she do now? And this happens 90% of the times. She says, hey, how about we meet on WhatsApp or Telegram? Those two messaging systems will tell you if any online user offers you, hey, how about we take it to WhatsApp or we take it to Telegram? Your red flags should be going off right then and there and end it. So of the 7 that I did, again, I profiled them and I will do them for the rest of my life. I was hoping that one day I would meet someone that is genuine. All 7 out of 7. Ultimately, I did this, okay? And before you even get on WhatsApp and Telegram with them, ask them, what I would like you to do is I would like to have you write on a piece of paper today's date, or I'm Dr. Nuccitelli, write Dr. Mike, hello, how are you? And just put it and take a screenshot of you. None of them could do that. Again, I had gone into WhatsApp. I had gone into Telegram. I had asked them, hey, well, in WhatsApp, you can do video. Okay. In the other 3 were Telegram. Not one of them would get on video. Not one of them would even create a video clip with a little note saying, hi, Dr. Mike. So that is very important with catfishing, because what the catfish does is they get you off the social media platform, then slowly but surely, and this happens with online child predators, but just regular catfishing for us adult online users, they get you into WhatsApp or Telegram and then slowly but surely groom you. And then the day comes, man, I'm a little short this week. Do you think maybe you could, again, I know this is a lot to ask. Could you send me, 100 pounds?
Yeah.
Could you send me? And this is where it all begins, to where, just like you said at the beginning of our interview, one was thinking he was talking to Jennifer Aniston and sent 70,000, 70,000, whatever that may be. You had also brought up is what kind of individual would do that? What kind of individual would actually think he's talking to Jennifer Aniston? Again, now, it's very possible that individual suffers from a mental illness. There may be mental health issues. Yeah. It's also possible, he is somebody who is desperately in need of meeting somebody. Okay. Yeah. One of the primary, and I even have it on on the front page of my website, the iPredator, the online child predator, the cyber stalker, the catfisher, all of those, what are they looking to do by bringing you over to WhatsApp and Telegram? They're looking to isolate you. And if I can isolate you in a different platform, I now work to what? Physically and psychologically isolate you. And I say this all the time. You can be in a full soccer stadium, full of thousands of people. And if you're psychologically isolated, it doesn't matter that you're surrounded by thousands of people. It's a psychological process that occurs. So I guarantee this gentleman who got taken for 70,000, psychological isolation, the fantasy was what was going on, and he really thought he was talking to Jennifer Aniston. Yeah. So is he dumb? I don't like to say that word, but was he taken? Sir, as you know, we as humans, even in a pre-information age world, we have been taken advantage of. We have been scammed since the beginning of time. And now it's done online, but it's much easier to do.
And I think that's the thing, and exactly as you said, it's not that somebody you're talking to suddenly asks for $50,000. They start small, and it's, oh gosh, I just need 100 and 100, and you forget that what's 100, then it's 200, then it's 500, and they take you for what they can, and then there's some of the dispute. Well, I guess one of the big challenges it is the fact. I mean, the internet used to be called the World Wide Web, and I guess the clue is in the first word, world. So a lot of perpetrators of cybercrime can potentially be in countries thousands of miles away, could be in your own country hundreds of miles away, and obviously the laws differ greatly around the world. How on earth do law enforcement agencies address this?
They're doing the best they can. We're in 2025, and I've been asked the same question many times before, and I've been saying it for now 15 years. again, when I first started educating, doing podcasts and talking to blah, 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 I used to say that the law enforcement and the legal profession acts like we live in a pre-information age world. Okay. Here we are. It's 2025. And yes, if you're cyber stalked online and you go to your local law enforcement, they'll fill out a report for you, and give it to you, which essentially falls on deaf ears. Nothing against law enforcement. Now, if it's online child predation or involves children and sexual molestation, or what is now called, we no longer say online child pornography. It's now in uppercase, CSAM, okay? Child sexual abuse material, CSAM, okay? So that is becoming more and more prevalent. But getting back to earlier what you said, from a parent's standpoint, it is actively sitting down with your kids, and whether they want it or do it or not, because as you know, developmentally, they're like, oh my God, mom, dad, grandma, please, I don't want to talk about this. It is literally sitting down and say, please, tell me about this Snapchat or that new online game. And if you do it enough, I call it digital dinner. Maybe we can talk about that in a future show if you invite me back. But you literally sit down and you have to go naive. And even if you have a PhD in social media safety, you have to present yourself to your children. You say you have a 15-year-old and a 19-year-old?
Yeah, 15 and 18. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if they will hear this, but you would sit down with them and present yourself as utterly naive. So tell me about what you're doing. And slowly but surely, your child will begin to not so much open up. Your goal is to help them think, and it's not hard, that they are the authority of information technology. They are the ones who know what time it is. You are just an adult. You're my dad, If you can swindle them into thinking that, you begin to open them up, and by the grace of God, they may tell you if they have been targeted.
It's just, it still blows me away how much. I can remember as a kid, my parents, I'm sure yours are the same, would sort of warn me about taking sweets from strangers. If a stranger comes to you and says, come and look at my puppies, just never go for the stranger. And that's in the physical realm, where now, until we actually see them in person, every single interaction online is with a stranger, and it's scary. Well, just talking about something slightly more positive. So obviously, people do survive online harassment. They get through it. They get through cyber defamation. They get through things. They contact somebody like you. They speak. They get through something, and it's resolved in a way. But how do those people then regain the ability to trust again, or to create those connections again?
Well, the hardest, it's an excellent question. Man, you ask great questions. I didn't even send you questions, but you ask great questions. When it comes to online victimization, just like offline victimization, it comes down to victim blaming, victim shaming. So when an online user is cyberbullied, cyber stalked, they experience shame. Just like in a pre-information age world, it has been shown through research that the vast majority of folks that have been molested sexually offline, okay, what do? Nothing. They don't tell a parent. They don't tell adult. They don't tell anyone. Why? Because of shame. It's the same thing living in an online world. So when a child is cyberbullied, or a child is being groomed by an adult and may even know that the online user that they're talking to is an adult, they're being groomed, and that child predator is telling them, listen, if you go to your mom and dad and you tell them about us, not only can I get in trouble, but they will definitely punish you, and you will not be able to go on the line. You won't be able to game. You will nothing. And you will now have to deal with that. So shame is very real, as it's always been. So for parents, as I said, or, for all of us, It is teaching children that if you are targeted, however you're targeted, whether you're being cyberbullied or if you're the cyberbully, it's important for you to come talk to me. So if you're the cyberbully and you're targeting somebody at school, I promise you the punishment won't be that bad. But if I find out and you don't tell me, well, then there's hell to pay. Okay. And not that that's going to work, but we need to teach children as early as possible. Prevention education is to speak to an adult. For us adults, it's understanding if we get trolled, if we get catfished online, we need to feel comfortable enough to tell our loved one, to tell our coworker about what just happened. Not only is it good because it allows us to process the trauma or the embarrassment, but it also helps to educate your fellow coworker or your friend or your brother or your sister.
Something else I just thought of was, I mean, so we've talked a lot about individuals being targeted and going through very traumatic experiences. One of the things that distresses me at the moment is, not in the moment, in general, I guess, is that we seem to see more and more, or a larger and larger volume of vitriol and incredibly hurtful, distressing, terrible things given to groups of people. So I look at the situation in Israel and Gaza as a good example, I guess, and the narrative about Israel is overwhelmingly negative and in favor of Gaza for people that have no knowledge of the situation whatsoever. And it's the same choice, the same in Russia and in Ukraine and lots of different places. And I just wonder whether that's something we're seeing more and more of as well, this huge volume of people coming together to attack a group of people.
Most certainly. Let's getting back to remember with fantasy, okay? Dark psychology, which I wrote back in a pre-information world, dark side of human consciousness, the study of. Dark psychology says, and it's very common sense, is every single human since the beginning of time until the end of time, we have dark thoughts. We have violent thoughts. We have perverse thoughts. We have, goodness gracious, let's just say evil thoughts, not to use a religious term. Yeah. But we all have we all have evil thoughts. The difference is we don't act upon them. So we walk through our lives with, obviously, good thoughts, bad thoughts, but we have evil thoughts. They come and go. Some of us dream about them. Some of us, that coworker that really pissed me off, boy, what I would love to pull a bullet in his head. Okay, this is all in my mind. It never escapes. Now, deviants, pedophiles, criminals, mass shooters, all of them, the fantasy turns into reality. Okay, here we are in the information age, and if you subscribe to my notion about somehow, our neuronal connections is somehow meshing with the internet, when we go online, okay, we engage in fantasy. All right, and that is where we can really get in trouble, and that's what I believe. And people go online. Now, all of a sudden, all these dark thoughts that I used to have in a pre-information age used to stay there. Now, when I'm online, guess what I can do? I can Google 5-year-old blonde female children in bikinis. I can Google, I can search. I can even go on the dark web, and I can even buy child sexual abuse material. Accessibility. I now can get. So now that I can access what my fantasies are, that is where the fantasies now become reality, because now I'm searching for it. Remember, there's only 3 ways that we can manipulate information. We can compile information, we can exchange information, and we can disseminate. All right. The dark side of cyberspace is now I go online, and no matter what my penchant is, whatever my fetish, whatever my aggression is, not only can I find it, but if I do a little work And this goes back to Adler, because Adler said we're all looking to be part of a group. Okay, he called it social. If I can find one other person who is into my pedophilic desires, or no matter how specific, goodness, there's what, 8 billion people, 7 point something billion. I guarantee you I will find someone. And if I find one other person who, enjoys my dark fantasies, who likes it, boom, I feel validated. I am encouraged to do what? To do it more. And that's where the process begins.
And we've seen that throughout history in the real world, if you want to put it like that. But I think of examples, so in Central Eastern Europe, when the Czech Republic sort of split up into Croatia and Czech and lots of different places, Yugoslavia rather. And you had then people that were literally next door neighbors, and then because somebody was a Kosovan or a Croatian, whatever, they saw them out of the house and took it. We saw it in Germany before the World War II even started. I read a book recently about I can't remember what it's called, but it's almost like everyday Germans. So it was almost, the premise was, well, surely everybody in Germany can't have been evil. The country wasn't evil,
right?
But it was because the 10 neighbors, 20 neighbors, 100 neighbors were all against these 5 neighbors. You coalesce as part of that group. You fear being outside that group. And the same with that, but online allows you to do that just so much more quickly and efficiently. That's terrible. That I can connect with somebody in Thailand, somebody in Alaska, and somebody in South Africa that feel the same way that I do. And we're suddenly a group. Nothing bonds us apart from our predilection for young children or whatever. We suddenly bonded by these things.
Yeah, it can be racist. It can be again, the entire gambit of ideology. I mean, obviously, there's just not extremist ideology. There's healthy ideology too.
Yeah.
There's ideologies I agree with. There are ideologies I disagree of. But you just said it. In a pre-information age world, if I was, let's say if I was Republican in a pre-information age world, I had to go down to the local KFC or the local maybe bar, and hopefully that bar, I would know that bar is mostly us Republicans. Then I could sit and chat and I could socially activate with other people that are like-minded. Okay? Now, in a pre-information age world, if I was a pedophile or if I was a, extreme racist, now obviously with a racist, I'd have to wear a white hood, or I would have to go somewhere to be surrounded by other, fascist racists. But in a pre-information age world, forgive my French, you had to get up off your ass and go somewhere to go do it.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to do that at all. You can go to forums, to message boards. You can on and on and on. You literally do not have to leave this chair, this apartment. You don't have to go anywhere, and you can entertain and you can actually, engage whatever fantasy you have. And this is what we need to understand. And this is why it's so important. Again, you don't have to have a PhD in online safety, but it's understanding that when you go online, be very careful about the personal information you share. Another quick, I helped an individual several years ago. She had Facebook. Many of us have Facebook, but she had her Facebook settings to public. Okay. Now, obviously, you all know, for your audience, Facebook has, different privacy settings. Well, obviously, if you have it set to public, well, that means anybody and their grandmother can watch and see what you wrote. Well, what she did, God bless her, not stupid, but she online leading up to, again, I'm on the East Coast, New York City, Brooklyn area. So this lady, also East Coast, she was planning and talking about on Facebook going down to the shore, the Jersey Shore. Not only did she talk about it and talk about where she was going to be staying, but she also talked about when she was leaving and when she was going to return on Facebook. Now, if it was set to private, it wouldn't be too bad. She had it set to public. She goes to the Jersey Shore, has a wonderful time for 10 days. She returns, and guess what? Her whole house was gutted. Why? Because she had her privacy setting set to public, and an iPredator, a cyber criminal, was watching. This is what is happening now. So it's understanding, it's practicing basic online safety things. It is never sharing personal. Sir, she literally, I don't want to laugh. She literally posted when she was leaving and when she was returning. She even reposted when she was down at the shore, posted, oh, I had a great time at the boardwalk. We just got done eating funnel cake. This is what we have to be mindful of.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, some of us end up giving $70,000 to Jennifer Aniston.
And she doesn't need it, I'm sure. But so is it fair to say that this is not a problem that legislation is going to solve? This is about taking personal responsibility for our families and loved ones as well, to make sure that we do talk about these things. They do understand what the situation is, and at least they're aware, because we're not going to legislate against all of these things, aren't we? Because social media exists, it's not going anywhere, and it's just how you use it.
Yes, it's how you use it. You can't litigate. You can't create policy to squelch, again, not to get into the whole free speech thing, but you can't truncate and put boundaries on what you can and can't say. Now, obviously, hate speech is one thing, okay? Yeah. But when we're moving into, and sir, we can do a whole show on my concept of online psychopath, and then also the difference between internet trolls and predatory trolls. That is a whole different thing. I mean, today we're just doing a general overview, but it's understanding that there are online users. Some of them do it to get paid, but the vast majority of iPredators, they go online. They're not getting paid. They're not getting they're not getting anything beneficial other than what? A proverbial pat on their self-ego, because they feel good. Internet trolls, which is one typology of iPredator, they go online, and what they're looking to do is to provoke you, to engage you in an online argument. They do that. Oh, they feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
And then they go and they target somebody else. That's what they do, because it makes them feel good about themselves. Okay. Then you have what I introduced, I think 5 years ago, is the predatory troll. And what the predatory troll is, he or she is an internet troll, but now it's not just about provoking you or getting you upset. It's now going after your job, going after your loved ones, doing whatever he or she can do to totally decimate your online reputation. And if they're successful, and I have helped those, they will look to get you fired. They will look to get you thrown out of school. They will look to do whatever they can to totally destroy your livelihood. And it's all done online. The predatory troll. Like I said, that is a show in and of itself. But that's what we're seeing now.
You've been very generous with your time. So just two more quick questions, if that's okay. Firstly, and you don't have to answer this, but why is this so important to you?
Well, because, I mean, obviously I've always been fascinated, early on, my fascination was psychology, the study of human behavior. Then it became dark psychology. And as I said, in my 20s, well, actually, after I got my doctorate degree, I was so fascinated about learning about psychopathy and sociopathy. I was also a forensic psychologist. Years ago, I even went up to Toronto, Canada, and sat, not that I needed the certification, but I took the psychopathic deviance scale training created by the father of psychopathy, Dr. Robert Hare. I mean, he wasn't the trainer. I sat through it. I didn't need the certification, but it was just the fascination. I have always been fascinated with the study of the dark side of what I call human consciousness. Theologians and religious folks would say evil. So I am fascinated about learning about evil. And then, as I said, Once I learned, or I had the intuition or the thought or the forethought that, man, if I'm evil, where better to go? Online. Because now I can hide, I can completely, with smoke and mirrors, totally hide who I am.
And the final question for now, because I would love to have you back. There's so many more things I want to ask about now. Is what are your sort of thoughts for iPredator going forward? Does it continue to evolve? What do you see the journey looking like?
Well, I mean, for me, everything and thank you for everything on my website, everything I've created, all my assessments are free, educational, and public domain. Print them out. If you don't like them, blow your nose and throw them in the garbage. Everything I've created is free. You don't even have to give your email address to print out any of my assessments. And there's 30 of them on there. My goal is to educate. Okay. I mean, by the grace of God, if I live long enough, I believe every school K through 12 here in the United States, K is kindergarten through 12th grade, before college, K through 12, there needs to become, when I was a kid, I had to take metal shop. I had to take wood shop. I also had to take health class. It should be a compulsory educational requirement starting in kindergarten, because children that young have cell phones, where children are taught and introduced to what's called digital citizenship, which is how to conduct oneself online. Then there's cyberbullying prevention, not stranger danger, but online stranger danger. Teaching children, about what they can see online. And then as we work into, middle school and high school, it's teaching children about cyberbullying and what is called the bystander and upstander. Very quickly, the bystander are the vast majority of children who know the cyberbully and know the cyberbully victim. They're the bystanders. And why they're bystanders, they know it's going on, but what happens? Nothing. They do nothing about it. They're bystanders. Why? Because they're afraid if it's found out they're the one that went to a teacher, an adult, they will get targeted. Or they're afraid if they're found out, they're seen as being uncool. So the vast majorities in the cyberbullying dynamic, they do nothing about it, but they know. Within that section of bystander are what are called upstanders. Now, they are the minority. And who they are children who, because of their self-esteem, genetics, great parenting, they stand up for the victim. They go to the teacher. They go to a parent. They side and stand next to the victim. They are called upstanders. And this is what we want to teach in schools, that it's good to be an upstander. It is not uncool. And I even believe that we could have programs where seniors could actually take under the proverbial wing a sophomore or a freshman.
Really?
And to kind of like protect them. And then because they do that, they get, whether it be college credits or they can write that on a college admission form. 100%. And it's actually a plus that they are an upstander, a teacher of underclassmen. Those are some of my ideas.
There's one quote that I read from you on your website that I wanted to leave the audience with, if that's okay. So this is not my words, these are Michael's words. Cyberspace can be a classroom, insane asylum, dance floor, or lethal weapon. It's your choice what metaphor you choose. That really resonated. I really like that. So I just thought I'd leave. Just thank you so much. You've been...
Thank you, man. That was
you've,
great.
You've given me so much more knowledge, and I really want to get you back to talk about particularly dark psychology. I'm fascinated by how we can better understand that and why people do the things that they do. But for now, I've gone well over. But thank you so much. You've been great. Really appreciate it.
One of the things you may be interested in, and it's under my online concepts, is online psychopathy. That seems to be quite interesting to folks. I mean, because we're talking about psychopaths, not necessarily serial killers, but people that are able to go online and have no regret, no remorse, no shame, no guilt when they're targeting you. That's just a nice.
Fabulous.
So,
yeah.
Last thing, whenever you send me the link, I will certainly share it to my 12 social accounts, and I would be honored to be back on your show someday.
I appreciate it. But for everybody listening, I put the links into the notes, but iPredator.co, can't be any simpler than that. iPredator.co, go there. There is so much there. There's assessments for adults, there's professional assessments, there's tools, there's typologies, there's safeties, there's a huge amount there. So yeah, just have a good look at it. I mean, yes, we'll definitely get Michael back on. You heard him here. He volunteered. So. But no, I appreciate you.
All right. Take it easy now.